Nothing. Then his radio crackles. Achtung. Many contacts, high, approaching fast, 12 o'clock. Heinrich stiffens. Many contacts. Coming toward them. At this altitude. His eyes sweep the sky once more. Nothing. And then, there. A flicker. A glint. Sunlight bending off metal. At first they appear as distant needles, impossibly slender. Then shapes form, long wings, twin tails, and not dropping toward bombers, but charging directly at the interceptors. Heinrich's scalp tingles. No, not possible. They shouldn't be this far from Sicily. They shouldn't even be here alone. But they are. Dozens of P-38 lightnings slice through the sky in perfect spread formation, contrails whipping behind them. Rudy's voice bursts across the radio, higher than usual. Got him Himmel, lightning escort? Out here. The German formation wavers. For weeks they had mocked the P-38 as an underpowered twin-engine curiosity, nothing more than an improved P-39. But these aircraft are not struggling. They are not climbing heavily. They are not lagging behind bombers miles away. They are hunting. The leading Lightning rolls slightly, sunlight flashing off its drop tanks. The nose, housing 4.50 caliber Brownings and a 20mm cannon, points directly at the center of JG-53's formation. Heinrich's fingers tighten on his stick. Brake! Brake! They're coming in head-on. The sky erupts. The P-38s descend like silver predators, guns already spitting lines of white smoke. Tracers slice past Heinrich's canopy as he yanks his 109 into a hard right bank. The G-forces slam into his ribs. His breath cuts short. Behind him, the air fills with engine roar, metal shriek, and shouted German voices clipped off mid-sentence. He levels briefly, fighting the instinct to look back. His heart is hammering, pumping adrenaline through his raw nerves. For the first time in his Luftwaffe career, he is not chasing the enemy, he is being run down. A P-38 flashes across his upper left quarter, banking impossibly tight for a twin-engine aircraft. Heinrich catches a glimpse of the pilot, goggles, oxygen mask, gloved hands steady on the yoke. Focused. Calm. The Lightning shoots upward again, climbing with brutal power. Heinrich stares in disbelief. How is it climbing like that with drop tanks still attached? September 15, 1943. 24,000 feet above the Tyrrhenian Sea, west of Sardinia. The morning sun is still low, throwing long silver reflections across the rolling water far below. Thin altostratus clouds stretch like pale brushstrokes across the sky. Inside the cockpit of an Me-109 G6, Oberfeldwebel Heinrich Kruger adjusts his oxygen mask and scans the empty blue ahead. His squadron, 10 JG-53, flies in loose formation, engines humming steadily as they angle toward Allied bomber routes. Heinrich taps the barograph housing on his panel, a habit he's had since flight school. The climb is smooth. The air is thin. Everything feels normal. And that's the problem. There should have been heavies by now, maybe a few straggling B-17s or B-24s ripe for interception. Rumors had circulated for weeks about new Allied escort fighters showing up, but the men of JG-53 laughed it off. Twin-engine fighters, they sneered, are heavy, sluggish, easy meat. They had seen the P-38 Lightning on propaganda sheets, long wings, twin booms, a central nacelle. Strange. Awkward. No threat. Heinrich's friend, Feldwebel Rudi Meyer, had joked at breakfast that morning. If the Americans bring those tractors this far south, at least we'll have more scrap for the mechanics. But now, gliding through the cold, bright silence above the sea, Heinrich feels the hairs on the back of his neck rise. Something is wrong. The fighter controller in Rome had ordered them to a new vector, further west, further out over the water, a direction they rarely patrolled. He lowers his chin and squints. The horizon wavers with faint heat ripples. Nothing. Then his radio crackles. Achtung. Many contacts, high, approaching fast, 12 o'clock. Heinrich stiffens. Many contacts. Coming toward them. At this altitude. His eyes sweep the sky once more. Nothing. And then, there. A flicker. A glint. Sunlight bending off metal. At first they appear as distant needles, impossibly slender. Then shapes form, long wings, twin tails, and not dropping toward bombers, but charging directly at the interceptors. Heinrich's scalp tingles. No, not possible. They shouldn't be this far from Sicily. They shouldn't even be here alone. But they are. Dozens of P-38 Lightnings slice through the sky in perfect spread formation, contrails whipping behind them. Rudy's voice bursts across the radio, higher than usual. Got him Himmel, lightning escort? Out here. The German formation wavers. For weeks they had mocked the P-38 as an underpowered twin-engine curiosity, nothing more than an improved P-39. But these aircraft are not struggling. They are not climbing heavily. They are not lagging behind bombers miles away. They are hunting. The leading Lightning rolls slightly, sunlight flashing off its drop tanks. The nose, housing 4.50 caliber Brownings and a 20mm cannon, points directly at the center of JG-53's formation. Heinrich's fingers tighten on his stick. Brake! Brake! They're coming in head-on. The sky erupts. The P-38s descend like silver predators, guns already spitting lines of white smoke. Tracers slice past Heinrich's canopy as he yanks his 109 into a hard right bank. The G-forces slam into his ribs. His breath cuts short. Behind him, the air fills with engine roar, metal shriek, and shouted German voices clipped off mid-sentence. He levels briefly, fighting the instinct to look back. His heart is hammering, pumping adrenaline through his raw nerves. For the first time in his Luftwaffe career, he is not chasing the enemy, he is being run down. A P-38 flashes across his upper left quarter, banking impossibly tight for a twin-engine aircraft. Heinrich catches a glimpse of the pilot, goggles, oxygen mask, gloved hands steady on the yoke. Focused. Calm. The Lightning shoots upward again, climbing with brutal power. Heinrich stares in disbelief. How is it climbing like that with drop tanks still attached? For months, German defense relied on one simple truth. American bombers flying deep into Italy must eventually pass beyond the reach of their escort fighters. Without escorts, the B-17s and B-24s are slow, predictable targets, perfect for experienced Jagdgeschwader pilots. That truth has defined their entire strategy. And now it is gone. Orders shift in the hours that follow. Squadrons are relocated. Emergency maintenance crews scramble. Pilots are told to expect contact much earlier in their climbs. But nothing prepares them for what happens the next day. September 16, 1943. Dawn. 21,000 feet above the Lazio coastline. The sky is pale gold, the sun still climbing through thin morning haze. Heinrich and Rudy fly together again, their 109s humming as they rise toward the bomber stream reported approaching from the southwest. The routine is familiar. Climb, 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 wait for the bombers to appear, slip into attack formation, hit them fast before their escorts arrive, or at least that was how it used to be. But today, something is different. As Heinrich reaches the assigned altitude, he hears a distant rumble through the thin air. Engine noise carried across the upper atmosphere. But it's deeper, heavier, not the drone of bombers. Rudy hears it too. Heinrich, do you? I hear them. They scan the sky. There, west again. Always from the west. Lightning silhouettes break through a layer of cirrus. A full squadron this time. Maybe more. Their contrails twist like white ropes behind them. But today they aren't intercepting interceptors. They are leading the bombers. Acting as the forward spear of the Allied strike. Before Heinrich can process the significance, the B-24 Liberators behind them lumber into view. Dozens of them, glittering like silver islands in the sky. The Lightnings bank sharply in three elements, fanning out across the bomber stream. No lag, no struggle, no sign of fuel anxiety. They fly as if they belong here, as if this long-range escort had always been possible. Rudy's voice comes through the radio, disbelieving. How far did they fly? Sicily. Malta. Africa. Heinrich watches the P-38 settle above the bomber groups, rock steady, engines rumbling with power. Rudy, he says softly. They came from Tunisia. Rudy doesn't answer. He knows what that means. It means the Luftwaffe's range map, the map dictating their strategy, their confidence, their survival, has just been torn apart. The German controller's voice bursts over the radio again, tense. All units, engage with caution. Escorts confirmed. Repeat, escorts confirmed far ahead of bombers. In the distance, a Lightning rolls inverted and drops toward them. Heinrich grips his stick. Every pilot in JG-53 had mocked the idea of a twin-engine escort fighter reaching deep into their airspace. Now those twin engines are screaming toward them with the fury of a machine built to dominate exactly this altitude, exactly this distance, exactly this moment. And the Luftwaffe suddenly feels small. Previous _section_ text. The lightning drops from above with terrifying precision, its twin Allison engines roaring as it slices through the thin air like a blade aimed directly at the heart of JG-53's climbing formation. Heinrich sees the sun flash across its long wings, sees the flicker of gun ports already alive with muzzle flare. He has no time to warn anyone. The first burst rips through the space just above Rudy's canopy, white-hot traces whipping past so close Heinrich sees the streaking smoke trails curl from the turbulence. Rudy yanks his 109 into a steep right brake, wings groaning under the sudden G-load. Heinrich dives instinctively, letting gravity drag the aircraft down. His stomach lurches. The wind screams across his canopy frame. The lightning doesn't pursue, because it doesn't need to. Two more lightnings are already moving in, sliding across the top of the bomber stream like silent predators marking their prey. Above them, the B-24s thunder forward. Their engines are rolling, distant vibration that fills the sky. But today, Heinrich hardly notices the bombers at all. The escorts are everything. He levels out just long enough to catch his breath. His canopy glass shakes violently from the slipstream. He checks his mirrors, empty for the moment, and banks left to find Rudy. The radio is chaos. Regroup. Two lightnings behind us. Brake. Brake. They're rolling over the top. I've lost control, my tail's hit. Heinrich's chest tightens. He has never heard JG-53 sound like this. Not even during the chaos over Malta. Not even during the brutal clashes with the Spitfire Mk9. These pilots are veterans, aces, many of them. And right now they sound as if the sky itself has turned against them. He spots Rudy lower down, weaving hard in defensive S-turns. A lightning shadows him from above, riding the 109's energy bleed, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. Rudy, pull vertical. Now. Rudy trusts him without hesitation. He hauls back on his stick, the 109's nose pitching up sharply. The lightning overshoots, just barely, streaking past in a flash of polished metal. Heinrich seizes the moment. He rolls into pursuit, trying to catch the American fighter while its energy bleeds from the maneuver. But as he lines up the deflection angle, the P-38 suddenly accelerates upward with brutal force. Heinrich blinks. How is a twin-engine fighter climbing away from a Messerschmitt after an overshoot? He tries to follow, but his 109 shudders in protest. The lightning pulls away in a steep zoom climb, engines howling. Its silhouette becomes smaller, smaller. Then it turns. A perfect, effortless half-roll. And it comes back down. Straight at him. Scheiße. He pushes into a dive, pulling away before the lightning can line up a clean shot. Bullets streak past his left wingtip, punching through the trailing edge with sharp metallic snaps. Fabric fluttering. Control surface trembling. He stabilizes again, barely avoiding a spin. This isn't combat anymore. This is survival. Minutes later, the bomber stream passes overhead, its bombs beginning to fall on rail yards and supply depots along the Roman coastline. JG-53 tries to mount another interception, climbing from the low altitude where many of them have been forced. But the moment they rise above 18,000 feet, the lightnings pounce again. They always appear from above. They always strike first. And they never chase too far or waste altitude. These pilots, these Americans, are not just flying long-range escorts. They are executing a doctrine designed specifically to break the Luftwaffe's climb and dive advantage. They guard the bomber stream like wolves circling a herd, always ready to hit the interceptors before they can even think about forming an attack run. By noon, Heinrich and Rudy limp back toward. He land hard, his tires screeching on the pierced steel runway. Ground crew rush forward, waving him into position. When he finally opens his canopy, the humid air hits him like a wall. He pulls off his oxygen mask and breathes deeply, shakily. Rudy's 109 rolls in moments later, trailing smoke from a damaged oil line. He climbs out, helmet still on, eyes wide and unfocused. He walks straight toward Heinrich. They didn't come to fight us, Rudy says quietly. Not really. Heinrich doesn't answer. Rudy's voice cracks. They came to shut us out of the sky. The words hang between them like a sentence. Because both men know the truth. The P-38's range has erased every defensive line the Luftwaffe thought it controlled. And this is only the beginning. Previous section text. The dust from Rudy's landing gear still hasn't settled when the briefing room fills with pilots. Some grim, some bleeding, some still shaking from the adrenaline crash. The humid afternoon air hangs thick inside the cement-walled structure, but no one seems to notice. Every man's eyes drift to the large map tacked to the wall. It's the same map they studied yesterday. And it is now completely useless. Oberst Lieutenant Hartwig, the sector operations officer, marches into the room with a stack of fresh reconnaissance reports. His face is pale beneath his cap brim. He adjusts his gloves, then sets the papers down beside the map. Listen carefully, he begins, voice tight. This morning's engagement confirms what High Command has feared since early summer. He taps a long pointer against the western coastline of Italy. The P-38 Lightning is now operating at effective escort range from bases in Tunisia. That gives it a combat radius far exceeding anything we predicted. The pointer circles outward, sweeping across the map in a broad arc that covers nearly half the Tyrrhenian Sea. Gasps. Low curses. A few men simply stare. This radius doesn't just reach the bomber routes. It extends beyond them. The Americans could now escort bombers into central Italy, southern France, even parts of Austria, all without refueling, without staging, without stopping. Hellman, their Staffelkapitän, leans forward. This cannot be correct. The Lightning is too heavy, too inefficient. It has 2 engines, yes, Hartwig interrupts sharply. 2 engines that burn more fuel, but also 2 that allow extended cruise at altitude with incredible efficiency. They are flying higher and longer than we can counter. Heinrich feels a tightness in his throat. He knows what Hartwig isn't saying aloud. The Luftwaffe cannot climb fast enough to intercept bombers before the P-38s get there. The range map is dead. The doctrine that kept their pilots alive is dead. And the Americans know it. 2 days later, the true consequences begin. September 18th, 1943. Over the Apennines. The morning sun spills across jagged mountains dusted with thin, early autumn snow. Patches of cloud cling to the peaks. Down below, small villages still show the scars of previous bombings, ruined rooftops, shattered bell towers, roads carved into the hillsides. Heinrich's 109 lifts into the bright sky, climbing hard. His engine coughs slightly, cold air mixing with abrupt throttle changes, but stabilizes. Rudy flies beside him, his replacement aircraft still factory clean. Smell of lacquered metal lingering inside his cockpit. The radio crackles. Bomber stream detected. 30 minutes out. Escorts confirmed. No one asks what type. They already know. Within minutes, a glint forms above the distant cloud deck, silver dots, perfectly spaced, gliding along contrails like beads on a string. A full Lightning group. They are early. Not waiting for the bombers. Not guarding, dominating. All units. Climb to intercept altitude. Expect contact in 4 minutes. 4 minutes. That used to be their window to attack the bombers. Now it's their countdown to survival. Heinrich pushes the throttle forward. The 109 climbs, engine whining as the supercharger kicks. His wings tremble against the thin morning air. The Lightnings reach them first. A trio dives out of the sun, the lead aircraft rolling cleanly into a firing run. Their movement is smooth, confident, almost effortless, the signature of pilots who have already spent days dictating the tempo of aerial combat. And the effect is immediate. German climb formations scatter. JG-53 can't even form attack groups anymore. Every time they rise above 20,000 feet, P-38 swoop down from higher altitude, scattering them like birds flushed from a field. The bombers, lumbering below, are untouched. Not because they're well defended, but because the Luftwaffe never gets near them. Heinrich banks left, dragging a Lightning into a spiraling dive. He pulls tighter, tighter, his vision tunneling at the edges, but the P-38 doesn't break off. It follows with a stability he can't match at this speed. He forces the dive steeper. The altimeter unwinds. 19,000 feet. 17,000. 15,000. Finally, the Lightning peels away. Not defeated, simply returning to altitude control, ensuring Heinrich cannot climb again before the bombers finish their run. He levels out, gasping. Above him, contrails twist like white claws across the sky, the imprint of the battle he never truly fought. And then he sees them. The B-24s. Untouched. Unbothered. Engines thundering as they push deeper inland, dropping their loads on railway junctions and ammunition depots the Luftwaffe can no longer defend. As Heinrich watches the bombs blossom into rolling columns of smoke, something inside him falls hollow. This isn't losing a battle. This is losing the entire purpose of the fighter force. Back at the airfield that evening, the mood is different from the frantic energy of previous days. It is quiet. Heavy. Defeated. Rudy sits on a wooden crate, staring at his gloves. "They're not better pilots," he says quietly. "Not all of them." Heinrich nods. "But they don't need to be," Rudy continues. "They have the altitude. They have the range. They get to decide where the fight happens." He drops his gloves to the ground. And when? The truth settles over them like dusk creeping across the mountains. The Luftwaffe hasn't just lost an engagement. They've lost the initiative. And the P-38 Lightning is stealing more of it every day it appears over Italy. Previous_section_text. Days pass, but the pattern never changes. Every mission begins with the same dread. Climb, 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 and pray the lightnings don't find them first. Reconnaissance reports arrive daily, detailing new American airfields in southern Tunisia, new supply points, new bomber groups. Each note, typed in crisp, precise handwriting, feels like a death sentence to the Luftwaffe's carefully calculated maps. September 22, 1943. 25,000 feet above the Adriatic coast near Pescara. Heinrich's 109 hums steadily as he sweeps the horizon. Rudy flies tight behind him, his aircraft bearing fresh paint but already streaked with dust and grime from repeated sorties. Below, the Adriatic glistens, a deceptive calm beneath the turbulence above. The radio bursts to life. All units, bomber stream detected. P-38 escorts confirmed. Engage cautiously. Heinrich exhales slowly, gripping his control stick with white knuckles. He has counted these engagements. He knows the numbers now. In every interception attempt over the past week, JG-53 has suffered the same result: lightnings first. Bombers untouched. Pilots scattered. Aircraft damaged. Return to base count shrinking. The first P-38 element appears as a small flicker on the distant horizon, catching sunlight off its long wings. Soon, more join, 3, 4, a full squadron, moving with geometric precision, contrails slicing the sky. Heinrich tries to climb aggressively to meet them. Rudy follows. They form up, pushing their engines to the limit, sweat collecting beneath oxygen masks, faces pale. But every time they rise, the lightnings are already above. Always above. The twin-engine fighters glide effortlessly on the thin upper air, dictating altitude, energy, and attack angles. The Germans can't match the climb, can't hold formation, can't coordinate attacks. One P-38 dives in, tracing a perfect line down the German formation, guns flashing. Another peels off from the side, forcing Heinrich to barrel roll to evade. He feels every ounce of his skill tested. His heart hammers, adrenaline and fear mix into a sharp, metallic taste in his mouth. Heinrich dodges the tracers and pulls back into the climb. From the corner of his eye, he sees Rudy's aircraft slip slightly, wingtip catching a thermal turbulence. The American pilot trailing him pulls off, assessing, waiting, never reckless, never overextending. The reality has settled like cold iron in their stomachs. No longer can German pilots rely on altitude advantage, climb speed, or surprise. The P-38 escorts dictate where and when any engagement occurs. They protect the bombers like shields of steel, punishing any Luftwaffe attempt at preemptive interception. Bombs fall below on rail yards, ammunition depots, supply convoys. Smoke rises in thick columns. Heinrich glimpses the destruction but cannot focus. His eyes track lightnings, chasing, evading, surviving. The Luftwaffe is becoming irrelevant in this theater. Their dominance in Italian skies, once assumed, is slipping with every sortie. Hours later, Heinrich lands back at Latoria. His aircraft is scorched from radiator shrapnel and tracer hits. Rudy's has suffered a wing dent. No one is injured, but all are exhausted, mentally and physically. The silence among the pilots is profound, a shared recognition of a truth too bitter to speak aloud. Oberst Lieutenant Hartwig enters the hangar, arms folded. He surveys the squadron, a mix of veteran aces and fresh-faced replacements, all pale and tense. He speaks quietly, deliberately. The P-38's range, its speed, its stability at high altitude, it is not just a new fighter. It is a new doctrine. It defines where the war is fought in the sky. And we have no answer yet. Heinrich nods. The words echo in his mind. They have already lost control. The initiative lies with the Americans. Every day they patrol these skies, the Luftwaffe's carefully constructed web of defense unravels further. In the coming weeks, reports from other sectors confirm what JG-53 now knows firsthand. The P-38's long-reach undermines German interception tactics across Italy, Sicily, and southern France. Pilots whisper about it. Mockery forgotten. The aircraft once laughed at, dismissed as an awkward twin-engine curiosity, has become the instrument that reshapes air power in the Mediterranean theater. And for every Luftwaffe pilot forced to flee under its shadow, the psychological effect is as decisive as any physical strike. The skies belong, increasingly, to the lightning. Heinrich sits alone on a crate that evening, gloved hands resting on his knees. He looks up at the darkening sky, the first stars flickering above the mountains. He cannot see them now, perhaps they are in Tunisia, perhaps over Rome, but he knows the lightnings are out there. Always out there. And for the first time, he fully understands that mocking an aircraft before understanding its capabilities was a luxury he can no longer afford. Previous section text, days bleed into weeks, and the Luftwaffe's reports grow bleaker. Every sortie over central and southern Italy confirms the same unsettling pattern. The P-38 Lightning is everywhere the Germans are not prepared to be, appearing first, vanishing last, and always protecting the bombers. Pilots who once laughed at the aircraft now speak in hushed, reverent tones. September 30th, 1943. 27,000 feet above Naples, near Mount Vesuvius. Heinrich's Messerschmitt hums under his hands as he climbs in formation with the remaining operational members of 10 JG-53. Below, the volcanic slopes are shrouded in morning mist, the sea glinting beyond. He tries to shake off the memory of the last encounter, how he had twisted and spun, narrowly avoiding the lightning's guns, but the tension remains, coiled in his stomach. Rudy's voice comes over the radio, steady but tight. Heinrich, look. Another formation. Same pattern. He squints. Silver flashes glint across the cloud layer. Contrails fan out, perfectly spaced, a precise lattice across the sky. Heinrich swallows. This time, the lightnings are not just attacking, they are orchestrating the air. They flank the bombers, covering every side, creating invisible walls of protection. Even the most daring German pilots struggle to get a clean shot. The realization hits them like a physical blow. This is not a fighter, they are facing a tactical system. A young lieutenant in the formation gasps over the radio, voice quivering. We can't even reach them. Heinrich's jaw tightens. He knows the feeling. Every sortie, every climb, every engagement reinforces the same truth. The P-38 has redefined air combat over Italy. It has exposed the limits of the Luftwaffe's range, altitude, and tactical doctrine. And it has done so before many of the German commanders have even recognized the scale of the threat. In the sky, the lightnings move with uncanny synchronicity, their twin engines roaring in harmony. The pilots below catch glimpses of the cockpit silhouettes, hands steady on yokes, faces calm behind oxygen masks. There is no hesitation, no panic, only control. Heinrich feels the weight of respect settle over him, unbidden. He had mocked these machines himself, called them awkward twin-engine curiosities. And yet now, flying against them, he cannot deny their superiority. The mockery of the past is gone, replaced by a grudging admiration. By noon, the bombing mission is complete. Explosions ripple across the Italian countryside, rail junctions severed, fuel depots destroyed. Not a single B-24 or B-17 is lost to Luftwaffe attack. The German pilots, exhausted and frustrated, limp back to their airfields, tallying the damage done and the lessons learned. Back at Latoria, Hartmann stands before the squadron once more, his face shadowed with concern. The Americans have demonstrated a principle we must recognize, he says quietly. Range and coordination are now decisive. The P-38 is not just a fighter, it is the key to the American strategy. They can bring the fight to us on their terms. Heinrich nods silently, glancing out the hangar doors at the last rays of sunlight glinting off the distant mountains. He thinks of the twin-engine Predators, their long wings cutting across the sky, relentless and precise. Rudy leans against a crate beside him. "Never underestimate an aircraft again," he murmurs. "Especially one no one else seems to understand." Heinrich exhales slowly, letting the words sink in. The Luftwaffe had mocked the P-38. They had dismissed it. And now, it had crushed their plans over Italy, not with overwhelming numbers, not with superior firepower alone, but with range, altitude, and tactical discipline that left the Germans grasping at shadows. For Heinrich, for Rudy, for the men of JG-53, the lesson is clear: respect the machine. Respect the pilot. Respect the strategic advantage it brings. And in the skies over Italy, the P-38 Lightning continues to rule, twin engines screaming across the clouds, a silver spear of Allied air power that has forever altered the balance of war in the Mediterranean theater. Weeks turn into months, and the pattern established by the P-38 becomes standard doctrine for the Allies. Reconnaissance confirms new American airfields springing up across Tunisia and Sicily, each one extending the reach of the twin-engine fighters deeper into Axis territory. By now, the Luftwaffe is forced to adjust every calculation, every patrol, every interception strategy. The old maps, once relied upon to dictate air dominance, are now relics of a naive past. October 10, 1943. Early morning above the Italian Tyrrhenian coast. Heinrich climbs in his 109G, flanked by a handful of remaining squadron members. The air is cold and thin at 26,000 feet. Below, the coastline glimmers under the rising sun, roads winding along cliffs, villages quiet but scarred by earlier raids. The silence of the morning is deceptive. It carries a tension, the kind that tightens the chest of every pilot who knows the sky above may be patrolled by an enemy that has already outclassed you. Formation spotted at 12 o'clock, lightnings confirmed, the radio crackles. The words are no longer shocking, they are the prelude to the familiar struggle. Heinrich scans the horizon. In the distance, a formation of P-38s gleams silver against the clouds, moving with unerring precision. They are escorting a new bomber stream, more B-24s, heavier and higher than previous missions. Rudy's voice is calm but taut. "Brace yourself. Same drill, don't overextend." The German pilots climb, but this time the realization is stark: every interception attempt is now reactive. The P-38s control the tempo of the battle. The Luftwaffe can no longer dictate where or when engagements occur. They are perpetually behind, forced to chase. Heinrich watches as one Lightning peels off from the escort formation and moves to intercept his wingman. The maneuver is textbook: smooth, efficient, almost surgical. There is no waste of energy, no hesitation. Heinrich rolls his 109, evading the burst of .50 caliber fire. His hands are slick with sweat, his jaw tight with concentration. Below, the B-24s lumber toward their target, engines roaring. Not one has been hit. Not one. By midday, the bombing run is complete. The German pilots return to base, exhausted and demoralized. The realization among them is unanimous: air superiority over Italy is no longer theirs by default. The P-38's extended range and operational discipline have rewritten the rules of engagement. Back at Latoria, the briefing room is tense but subdued. Maps are updated daily, but the arcs representing German control zones shrink as American operational reach grows. The Luftwaffe grapples with a sobering truth: the P-38 Lightning has permanently altered the dynamics of the air war in Italy. Heinrich sits quietly, removing his helmet, staring at the ceiling. He thinks back to the first day he saw the Lightnings, how he laughed at their awkward twin tails, how he dismissed their potential. The memory now carries a bitter edge. Rudy sits across from him, polishing his gloves, still quiet. He finally speaks. "They didn't just escort bombers, they taught us a lesson. Distance, altitude, patience, strategy. The sky is no longer ours for the taking." Heinrich nods, understanding fully now. Mockery had blinded them. Underestimation had cost them their freedom in the sky. Respect, as hard as it is to admit, is the only way forward. As the sun sets over the Italian mountains, long shadows stretch across the airfield. The twin-engine silhouettes of P-38s are already on the move elsewhere, unseen but omnipresent, enforcing a new order. For the Luftwaffe, each encounter is a reminder that mastery of the sky is not guaranteed, but earned, and that the P-38 Lightning has permanently rewritten the balance of power over Italy. And so, in the Mediterranean theater, the war in the air has changed forever.